Okay, so let's go to the third page of this activity, and now we have an example where we have a rental company, and in this particular rental company, the cost of the rental depends on how many miles you drive. Okay, so we have an output. The output in this particular example seems to be the cost, right? Is cost, and the input, of course, is the number of miles. Okay, number of miles. So, of course, cost depends on the number of miles. So, the independent variable in this particular situation is the number of miles. Okay, number of miles. Number of miles. Okay, so, and we can call that the input, we can call that M. Okay, now the dependent variable is the cost, how much we had to pay for the rental. So the dependent is the cost, and I'm going to call it C. So we know now that C, my cost, C is a function of the number of miles, M. Okay? And the way I'm going to write it is C, right? My cost is a function of the number of miles. Okay? So the cost of renting, let's go to problem number 12. If the cost of renting for a day is $60 plus 10 cents per mile, we can write the equation. In other words, f of m is going to be given by $60, right, plus 10 cents for every mile I drive, and the number of miles, remember, is f. So my function C, the function C f of m is given by 60 plus 0.10 m. Okay, so let's see what happens. What would be f of 250? So how do we find f of 250? F of 250 would be 60 plus 0.10 divided by 250. We all know that 0.10 times 250 is 25, so it's $85. So that means that to rent a car that, you know, and that has been driven for 250 miles is going to cost $85. Okay, so this is the graph that shows the relationship between cost. Okay, so cost is my output and M is my input, and the domain of the function, we can see the domain of the function by looking at the graph, right? The domain of the function is a linear function, so the domain is all the real numbers, right? But if we're talking about the practical domain in this particular example, I'm going to say that my practical domain for my input, which is mile, could be numbers between 0, right, and 600. Just thinking that that's the number of miles that I can drive, you know, in a particular time. Okay? Now, the practical range is the range that corresponds to this very domain. So it could be the cost, okay? It could be defined by what numbers are we talking about here? We're talking about the numbers between what is the cost at 0. Well, the cost at 0 is $60, right? And the cost at 600, remember that if I multiply 600 by 0.10, I get 60 plus 60 is 120. So that will be my practical range. Okay? I can use the graph to find f of 400. If I take 400, right? This is 400, and I meet my graph at this particular point, I can find f of 400 by looking all the way to the left, and I think that f of 400 seems to be 100. Which means that if I drive 400 miles, I will have to pay $100 for the rental. Okay?